What is going on, guys? This is Jake at That Fit Friend, and today I'm reviewing the SUAVS The Zilker. So I was actually turned on to this model from a few different folks in the comment sections on barefoot shoe videos, essentially saying, hey, check out this brand. It's not necessarily a barefoot shoe, but it kind of walks that like in between like a cushion shoe and a barefoot shoe. So obviously, as somebody who has invested in both styles of shoes and loves rocking pairs for all those contexts, I was super interested in these. And plus I was also getting hit with targeted ads on Instagram. So I finally broke and bought a couple pairs. I also bought the Legacy, which I'll share some content on later. But 3 pros that I have with the Zilker is number one, it is a pretty dang comfortable shoe. So the shoe bends and moves really well. It has a minimalist drop at 3 to 5 millimeters. And when it comes to stack height, it is relatively low. So you do get a lot of ground feel with this model. So whether you are wearing them just out and about or wearing them casually around the house, they are a pretty comfortable shoe to rock. Plus the upper is super lightweight, so it form fits the foot really well. The second pro that I have with this model is that it's a good shoe for wearing without socks. So I personally love wearing some of my daily wear shoes without socks. I know that's pretty gross to some folks, but if you're like me and you like going sockless for some of your daily wear shoes and just walking out and about and you don't want your shoe to get too hot, this is a good model to explore. This model has some moisture wicking and sweat wicking components. So with the breathable knit, if you're walking them barefoot, I don't think they're gonna get too stinky too soon. My On Cloud 5s on the other hand are super stinky. I know I'm dealing with it. I'm cleaning them right now, but this model I think should do a slightly better job at that just because the knit is so breathable. So my third pro with this model, and this kind of piggybacks off my second point, is the upper construction. So this model is built with 100% recycled consumer threads, and it is super lightweight and breathable with this knit on its upper. So with this shoe, it form fits really well and has a nice level of stretch to it. Now I do see that also as a con. I'll talk about that in a minute. But when it comes to an overall comfort standpoint and giving you a nice level of breathability, I like the upper construction in this shoe, and I also like that SUAVS used some recycled materials to build this model. But now let's talk about a few cons I have with the Zilker. So 3 cons that I have with the Zilker is number one, I feel like SUAVS sizing recommendations for the shoe are a tiny bit off. Now, they recommend going true to size in this model, so I went with the normal 10 in the Zilker and the Legacy. In both of those shoes, if I'm wearing socks, I am pretty much spilling out of this toe box, and if I'm barefoot, I'm pretty much at the end of the toe box. I can rock these barefoot and they're fine, however, I do wish I had a little bit more room in the toe box, so I do wish I went up a half size. I think if you are investing in this model, it might be safe going up a half size, especially if you want to wear socks a lot with these shoes, because that is going to give your foot a bigger diameter. So something to think about before investing in the shoe. Definitely look at the product page and other reviews just to see what others have said about the sizing. I'm obviously just one opinion, but I do think that this model runs a tiny bit short, and you may be safe for going up a half size, especially if you want to wear socks a lot with the shoe. The second con that I have with the shoe is its tongue construction. So this is a non-gusseted tongue. It's pretty wide and it's pretty thin, and it can be a little bit prone to rounding in. So if you're like me and if you just plan on slipping these shoes on, it can be a little bit hard at times to get this tongue to lay flush. So it is something to think about. You might just have to play with it and adjust it a little bit. And if you are sweaty, forget about it. It's pretty tough to get this tongue to not round in. And I did notice when I was wearing these like for longer walks and it's hotter outside here in Denver right now, the tongue was starting to round in a little bit on the lateral side. So just something to think about. The tongue construction, I think, could be a little bit better in regard to security. I almost think there should be another loop down here on the tongue to prevent this issue, because I think that would really help lock this tongue down and in place. The third con that I have with this shoe is you're going to be a little bit limited with its overall functionality. If you are investing in this shoe as, let's say, like a transition shoe from like more cushion shoes to eventually barefoot shoes, and you want to wear this like as an in-between model, I would say it's great for daily wear. However, you're not going to want to like go work out in this shoe. You're not going to want to wear it if it's raining outside, because with this knit upper, it's going to suck in a ton of water. It's not going to be the best for weathering the elements outdoors. And with the upper construction, it doesn't give you a ton of like security and lockdown feeling. So you are going to be limited with its overall performance in other realms of life that are outside of walking and just more casual wear. So just something to think about before you invest in this shoe. This is not going to be that transition shoe that you can necessarily train in. But now let's talk about the performance of the SUAVS The Zilker. Alright, so to discuss the performance of the Zilker, since this is not a performance-focused shoe, I am going to change up my sections a little bit. I'm going to talk about daily wear and more walking, more casual settings, and then I'm going to talk about how I feel like this shoe is going to work in different seasons. So when it comes to daily wear, I think there are 3 pros with this model. Number one, I like the overall mobility of the sole. It feels super minimalist and it gives you a lot of ground feel when you are wearing this out and about or standing all day. The second pro about the shoe is the upper construction. So with this knit upper, you get a lot of breathability breathability. So again, if you are like me and you want to wear these without socks, this is a viable option to explore, and honestly, with the breathability, I don't think they're gonna get too stinky for you too fast. The third aspect to like about the shoe for daily wear is its overall subtle appearance. So I like that there's not a ton of branding. We have a little bit of SUAVS branding here on the lateral heel, and other than that, that's pretty much it. So if you want a just more traditional shoe that just has a simple color and a gum colorway, or if you go with the other Zilker models that have different sole constructions and colors, this is definitely a good model to look into if you like more subtle shoes like myself. So when it comes to walking, there are three aspects to keep in mind with the shoe before investing in them. Number one, I think they're gonna be best served for walking like distances of like 10K to maybe 15K steps at any given time. Outside of that, I could see this model maybe getting a little bit uncomfortable on you, or just the upper kind of stretching out. So I do think if you're walking like anywhere in that range throughout the day or at one time, you should be fine. But I don't know how this model is gonna necessarily hold up if you're doing like 20K plus steps in a day and doing like crazy terrain. So definitely keep in mind its limited potential there in the context of walking. The second thing to think about is that if you don't go up a half size, and if this toe box does run a little bit short on you and you're wearing socks, I would say be conscious of how much you're spilling over this upper. That's going to stretch this upper out a lot. So I'm not sure how that long-term durability will fare if that is happening to you. So definitely keep an eye on that if you notice that the shoe does run a little bit short for you. The third thing to think about with walking with this model is that if you're wearing these on super hot days, something that I noticed is that when I'm barefoot in this shoe and as I'm getting sweatier, it's been like 97 in Denver all week, I was having a little bit of squeak with my heel, creating a little bit of friction back here. So honestly, it's not the biggest deal because I think outside of those settings where you're gonna be super hot and your foot's a little bit sweatier, I don't think that's necessarily gonna be an issue, but I did notice it when I was getting sweaty on some of my walks, when I was taking the pups out, etc. So something to keep in mind with this model. I'm curious if other folks have experienced that. So if you have, definitely drop a comment down below and just share a little bit of context as to when you did. So when it comes to this shoe's abilities in different seasons, I think this is definitely gonna be a 3-season shoe. So for warmer days in the spring, fall, and then also for the summer, this model should be perfect. You can wear lighter socks with them, they'll breathe well, and they'll keep your feet relatively warm. And then you can also rock them sockless once again and keep the feet relatively cool. In the winter, I would honestly not wear this shoe for 2 reasons. Number one, the upper construction is not gonna do well in the different elements. So if you're rocking these in rain or the snow and it's cold outside, I think your feet are gonna get pretty dang cold. And then number two, because of the shoe's lacking abilities, I think for thicker sock wear, I would just say pass on this model. It's not gonna be the best for long-term durability in the context of winter wear. And if you want more foot warmth, this is probably not gonna be your best shoe. So when it comes to the price of the Zilker, you can expect to pay $95 USD. Now, despite liking this model, I feel like that price point is a little bit high for what this shoe offers. Honestly, I feel like a price point of like 60 to 75 would be way more fair for this model. But that being said, if you are going to invest in this shoe, definitely search around for coupons or sign up for the email list and get $10 off your first order. That is what I did to save a little bit of money. So that does help offset that price point a little bit. And I think if you are only wearing this model for certain occasions in warmer months and you plan to rotate them in with other daily wear shoes, that price point could also be justified because you will get more out of this model. But that being said, 95 USD for this shoe is a little bit steep, I think, for what this model offers. All right, so now let's answer the question, who should invest in the SUAVS The Zilker? So honestly, this shoe has grown on me, and when I first put them on, I actually wasn't sure how I felt about them. However, I think if you are somebody who likes rocking shoes that are a little bit more minimalist in nature on a daily wear basis, and you like wearing like super thin no-show socks or going sockless, this could be a good option to explore, especially for spring, summer, and fall. It's a good, very casual daily wear shoe. Now, it's going to have its limitations, so don't invest in this model if you want them for working out. Don't invest in them for winter wear. But if you do fit into that like warmer month ask and you like wearing shoes on a daily wear basis that do have a lot of mobility and that you can wear sockless, I do think the SUAVS The Zilker could be worth looking into. When chatting on the sizing and fit of the Zilker, SUAVS recommends going true to size in this model. Now, I think if you have a narrow foot width and you generally have room at the end of your toe box, going true to size might be the call. However, I think if you have wider feet or even neutral width feet like myself, you may want to go up a half size. I think going up a half size would have been a better call in this model for me, especially if I did want to wear them with socks. So definitely food for thought. Check out the product page and then look at reviews and what other people have shared, because I think that will help give you like a better rounded picture of the sizing of the shoe. But honestly, I think for most folks, going up a half size might be the call, especially for sock wear. All right, so now let's cover the weight, heel to toe drop, and insole in the Zilker. So for my size 10 model here, we have a weight of 8 ounces. This model's heel to toe drop is said to be between 3 to 5 millimeters, and this model does have a removable insole, so you can actually take this out if you want and walk around in it, and it'll give you a slightly lower profile shoe with a decreased stack height. All right, so now let's cover the construction of the SUAVS The Zilker. So looking at the upper construction, we have a breathable knit that has a lot of stretch to it. So as you can see here, we do have a lot of stretch in this upper. This upper is a knit made out of 100% recycled consumer threads. So I do like that a lot about this component of the shoe. Looking at the midfoot construction, we have 5 core eyelets that go up. They are metal eyelets. And then once again, we have a knit tongue here. It's pretty wide, pretty stretchy and thin. Great for breathability, but it can round in a little bit. So definitely keep an eye on that. And then looking at the sole construction of the shoe, we have a full rubber sole here. It is pretty thin and lightweight in nature, has a lot of mobility to it. Once again, the heel to toe drop in this model is between 3 to 5 millimeters, and this shoe does have some sweat wicking and moisture wicking components, so it is a pretty nice model to wear without socks. Looking at the insole construction, we do have a thin foam removable insole. Now I would say if you want to get even closer to the ground and use this as like a transition shoe from more cushion shoes to barefoot shoes, you could try ditching this insole and seeing how this model fits and performs for you. I don't think you're gonna slide around too much, honestly. This internal construction here feels pretty grippy, so I could see that being a benefit of this model. We have some SUAVS branding here on the lateral heel, and then we also have a heel tab to help you pull and slip this shoe on. If you have any additional questions on the Zilker's construction, drop a comment down below. All right guys, that's up my review of the SUAVS The Zilker. Overall, it's an interesting shoe. I like it for certain contexts, and I could see its benefit for some folks who want this for more casual daily wear in warmer months. If you have additional questions on this model, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally, whichever you prefer. And as always, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.